I knew something was off the second I reached that east pasture. You ever feel that kind of silence? The one that only shows up after the world's already taken a bite out of your plans? That's what I walked into. Birds holding their breath, sky gone hush, and then the punch to the gut. My fence, the one I'd bled for, was torn to pieces. Not wrecked by weather or critters. No, this was clean, surgical, sawed right through, and the tracks made the rest of the story loud and clear. Hoof prints everywhere, a dark river of bison trailing out past the horizon. And all I could think was, here we go. 200 head loose in Cottonwood County, and some clipboard hero probably thought they'd taught me a lesson. Look, I don't wake up chasing conspiracy theories. I wake up chasing coffee that'll wrestle me into the day, then it's boots on, walk the line, say good morning to the fence posts like they're old buddies. That fence isn't just wood and wire. It's the line between order and chaos out here, between my life and somebody else's idea of how things ought to run. So when I ran my hand over that fresh cut and caught a splinter, I didn't think storm, I thought of Mara Kent. If you ever want to know what HOA royalty looks like, she's it. Visor, hair sprayed hard enough to stop a bison charge, and a clipboard swinging like a sword. Sagebrush Meadows sits just down the road. A whole neighborhood of houses that look like they got cloned in a lab, and they love their community standards. My place, Boone Ranch, is older than their whole zip code, but since Mara realized she couldn't boss me around, I've gotten more HOA letters than a mailbox deserves. Fence color complaints, livestock infrastructure, violations, you name it. I laughed off the first few, burned a couple with the junk mail, stuffed the rest where lost Tupperware lids go to die. But it got personal quick. They helped by dumping gravel on my road, called it traffic calming. Sent 2 polo-wearing fellas to educate me on property values. One didn't know a post-hole digger from a shin bone. But hey, that's suburbia for you. I went to a meeting once, told them straight. My land isn't on your map, never will be. Mara just grinned that cat at the screen door grin and said, we'll see. Well, we saw 1,000 cuts, noise, complaints, letters, and then, one night, my dog let out a growl that meant business. I followed the flashlight beam out and found the fence gone. Next morning, tire tracks led to the road, and wedged in the mud, a soggy HOA brochure for their community pride cleanup. You can't make this stuff up. Now, I could have marched down to the sheriff and ranted, but I knew how that would play. He'd shrug, say, can't prove who held the saw, and I'd drive home madder than before. Mara didn't bother hiding her little victory. Through a spring gala, sequins and all, even rolled a slideshow, showing my busted fence and my herd out wandering. She purred into the mic about outdated ways endangering our shared vision, and folks nodded like pigeons in folding chairs. If the goal was humiliation, it landed. I'll give her that. But here's the funny thing. Humiliation either breaks you, or it sharpens you. I've never been good at shrinking. People think bison are just big cows with bad hair, but they're muscle cars and fur coats. They move in ways the earth remembers. When they run, the ground rumbles. I know their rhythm. The way they gather, funnel through a gate. Roll like water if you open the right line. So that night, sitting on my porch, listening to the herd and the coyotes, something clicked. If you want to teach a clipboard tyrant about boundaries, you don't do it with memos. I kept it normal, fed the herd, oiled a hinge, checked a latch. Meanwhile, Walt at the feed store started rumors the way only a man with too much coffee can. By Thursday, HOA meeting night, you could smell the hairspray all the way across the field, see their clubhouse glowing gold in the dark like a lighthouse for lost arguments. The visors lined up. I stood by my gate, hand on the chain, feeling the ground hum. Not poetry, just a fact. You ever feel the whole world holding its breath? That's what it felt like. All right, boys, I whispered to the herd. Let's show 'em what they can't vote on. I'm not about to give you a step-by-step. Some things are earned, not explained. But let's just say, the sound of 200 bison making up their minds is like thunder remembering how to get loud. They moved, a living tidal wave, straight for the clubhouse, dust turning the lights into halos, cars rocking, alarms yelping. Through the glass, you could see faces freeze. Folks used to arguing about mailbox paint, now staring at a wall of moving muscle. One of the big cows slung her head. Papers flew. The sagebrush pride banner snapped. Mara, bless her, tried to rally her people, yelling order while standing on a chair, but her heel snapped and she landed sideways in a giant potted plant. HOA board members. Duh for the windows. I mean, nothing's funnier than seeing a guy who fined his neighbor for a trampoline trying to squeeze out a window, tie in his mouth. Nobody got hurt. The herd just looped through, pressed some hedges flat, dented a couple of show-off SUVs, then rolled back into the night. By the time the dust settled, it was all over but the shouting. Mara saw me through the glass, pointed like she'd seen a ghost, shrieked, "This is your fault." The words hit the window and slid down like rain. I tipped my hat. She didn't look scared, just shocked, like the universe forgot to ask her permission for once. By sunrise, the county knew. News vans out, cameras zoomed on hoof prints. Mara tried to hold a press conference, clipboard shaking, insisting I'd unleashed wild beasts. But the Channel 7 kid asked, "Is it true your HOA has no jurisdiction over Boone Ranch?" Someone else asked about the fence. Mara dodged and weaved, but it didn't work this time. Sheriff Lindors stopped by, hat in hand, just to say, "Heard you had some movement." We drank coffee, talked calves, shook hands. That was that. The cracks in Sagebrush Meadows started quiet, board members resigning. The treasurer selling his house, a petition floating around. Mara doubled down, sent out emergency fees to fix the damage. The neighbors lost it. "Why should we pay for your fight?" one woman yelled, and suddenly everyone remembered they'd been fined for dumb stuff. Bird feeders, mailboxes, you name it. I didn't need a victory parade. The land handled that. I fixed my fence, one post at a time, and let the quiet come back. Out here, winning isn't a trophy. It's the herd settling down before sunset, the sky wide enough for your thoughts. But the story wasn't quite done. Turns out, the county clerk's office is a treasure chest if you know where to dig. I found the deed, my great-granddad's, proving a 1-acre parcel right under the HOA office still belonged to us. Seems they'd built their palace on my dirt. So I walked in, handed Mara the papers, and told her, "You got 30 days. She tried to bluff, but the color drained right out of her face. 30 days later, they loaded their stuff, filing cabinets, fake plants, the whole circus, while neighbors watched, some shaking their heads, some filming, some just glad to see it end. Mara, visor back on, hissed, "You'll regret this." I just checked my lock and said, "No, you will if you learn nothing." I left the building standing. Sometimes people need a reminder. Now the herd grazes. Like always, fenced straight and true, nights quiet enough to hear yourself think. Some say I went too far, that I should have played by the rules, called a lawyer, waited for justice. Maybe you agree. Maybe you've never met a bully who won't stop till they hit bone. But out here, when someone cuts through what's yours, you either patch it up or you show them what it costs to break a boundary. I didn't hurt anyone. I just let the land speak, the way it always has, with dust and honest thunder. So, your turn. If you'd been in my boots, would you wait for the rules to catch up? Or would you open the gate? Drop your take in the comments. Where's your line between order and overreach, justice and payback? Share your battles. And if this hits a nerve, subscribe, because out here, the fences are long, the bulls are stubborn, and the next story's already working its way up the ridge.